never know what would have happened if Griffin made Worlds last year and whether they were ready. But when it comes to regional domination, if we judge it based on one game, they seem hella ready, Atlas.
Absolutely. Let's see whether we can judge it on 2 games, as they have now taken to the stage once again. We're in Champion Select. Blue side now for Griffin, the side that we've seen be a little bit more dominant so far, but Humwell Live thankfully turned that one around for themselves in game number 3. What is going to happen? The Rakan going to be banned away. Griffin going to take that one off the board. Lehen's had some pretty phenomenal grand entrances and some questionable ones.
What if you ban away 3 awesome dudes and make Viper actually come through on his words, which were, I want to play 80 carries, but I keep being, forced onto, for compositional reasons, the awesome dudes. Because it was 2 games of Cassiopeia into a Jace game in that Kesper Cup 3-game series in the grand final against Gen G. So far, we do see the Cassiopeia banned. Chovy deserves respect, so the Irelia gone. Do you have to ban Akali as well?
Do you have to ban Aatrox as well?
Yes,
the answer
you do
is
need to ban
yes.
Aatrox.
How much of a flex is that? Does Lehen's play support Aatrox yet?
Maybe.
Yeah, that's the scary thing. Is
and now
Lucian
Griffin says,
be banned?
which one do we get, please?
Yeah, exactly.
Is it the Akali or is it the Aatrox?
And then, Urgot's for free, and that's also one of these multi-man flexes as well if they want to go there, but Akali, like you say, also available if they want to give it back to Chovy, flex it over to Sword. Viper can play it, everyone can play it, let's be real. So many different options that Griffin could go towards. They could even first pick Xin Zhao if they want to.
Any other team just first picks Urgot in this scenario.
Yeah.
Even if
Gen G, I guess Gen G picks Akali.
Because King Zone can be like, aha, I'll pick Urgot and Sion. And yet, would that be enough? Would that work? Maybe that's a bold proposition worth taking. But it's something they could consider here. This would be where SKT would take Urgot Lissandra if we were basing it on Kesper Cup drafts.
Kingzone took Urgot Lissandra last game, not necessarily in the same order. However, it did still happen. Still taking a little bit of time to think this one through as Gragas. That flex, once again, 4 seconds to go, is being considered by Cuz. They are going to lock that one away. Likely that we actually see Cuz on that pick right now, but...
Could also just be a first-round Gragas Kai'Sa again. Don't know what Kingzone DragonX's read is on 2v2 strength, but wasn't quite Uzi Ming-esque when we saw...
No.
At level 1, definitely. After that, of course, fell away on the poor invade. I think Griffin have to accept the Sion, given that it's available. So probably going to be taken here.
Sword also made it look pretty busted on the top side of the map as well, winning the majority of those trades.
And you know what the best thing is for Griffin? If they win this game, they've shown nothing other than probably Akali mid lane and Sion top lane.
And if it ain't broke, don't fix it is certainly a thing for a reason.
Weird that we're talking about hiding strats in the first of 18 best of 3s. There you go. Oh my god.
Yeah.
It's an 80 carry.
It's a different champion as well. So they're not hiding strats anymore. They're showing us a strat. Like, you can play an 80 carry on the bottom side of the map.
Confirmed.
Ezreal in the meta, guys. Don't worry about it. We're learning this now. As Jace to be locked in by Kingzone. They got a lot of Jace players on this team. Pawn, of course, was famous for the champion. Rascal as well. And Deft has been boasting a lot of Jace play at the moment.
Pawn was actually speaking there on the player cam. I think that will be mid lane Jace from Pawn. That's cool to see. A blast from the past, but we asked for that with the Yasuo, which was, I believe, 11-1 when we saw it in Kesper Cup, and then it went down in that game, you'll remember. So Pawn trying to reinvent himself with old picks so far hasn't worked. Could be a Deft special. That'd be fun to see. Wait and see what it means on the red side with the Jace being played in jungle, top lane, mid lane, and also in the 80 carry role. Bans start to come through, and Ezreal Tahm Kench will not be given over to Griffin.
Nope. Tahm Kench is going to be that first ban. Griffin now with a couple of options. They would like it. I do like the Tahm Kench ban a lot. Lissandra going to be taken away. An interesting ban, because I believe we are already pretty sure that Pawn's going to be playing that one, but of course, respecting the fact that Deft can flex it towards the bottom side.
Fun thing about this draft is you can be really tricky with your jungle pick, because remember, the current meta seems to be 5th pick jungle. Have Kingzone DragonX pick their support or their jungler right now with the Gragas? We're not to know.
Yeah, true.
So that flex, especially after game number 1, is at least an interesting drafting option. See Kingzone saying, well, we saw it in support. We'll definitely at least hedge our bets by banning the Kha'Zix. Will this be our first Vayne against a person running Halo Blades Vayne?
Oh, I want it so
I
bad.
want Vayne too, and Ezreal was a matchup you always considered playing Vayne in all through every iteration of Ezreal versus Vayne. The Vayne hover is extended. Deft is a legacy Vayne player. It will not be today.
Denied. And I'm not going to lie to you, I'm very sad. We don't get to see it. theoretically, if we do get to a Game 3, there is still a chance, but it's likely that we don't see her because Ezreal already locked in. Now, what is Griffin going to do to round out their roster? Still a lot of different options, a lot of flexes. We're not likely to know exactly where the Akali and Sion are going this time as Tarzan.
I'd love to
reach
see it.
into that book once again, and that's going to be the Elise, and against Cuz as well.
He played Elise a single time. I believe it was in the Worlds qualifier, and they lost that game. It seemed like the Elise wasn't working. It's a legacy pick for him.
Yeah.
A pick that's been very strong in solo queue recently, so I'm happy to see it.
Also,
an element of a risk to it.
And a Lehen's legacy pick as
True.
well.
I guess we don't know for sure that it's not a support Elise. It is Lehen's, like you say.
Yeah.
Spirit animal in some ways, and it will be support Elise!
Oh, we've got it!
Good call, Atlas. You actually were the prophet this time. Support Elise from Lehen's, one of the champions that propelled him to rank 1 years ago before his stint on Griffin.
Yeah, and of course we had Elise in support. I think the first person I saw play it was Crepo back when Elise was completely ridiculous. She was being played everywhere. Absolutely everywhere. But since then, haven't seen it whatsoever. And now the answer is going to be the Zac. The Cuz special, of course, debuted in the LCK 2018 on this champion and was phenomenal on it as well.
Isn't it cool that Lehen's finally gets one of two things he would have had on his contract, his newly updated contract? He had two clauses, Atlas. They were 1 game of support Elise minimum and 1 game of top singed minimum.
Yep.
These are two champions that are intrinsically linked with a player that people have really only seen on the pro scene for 6 months. We'll talk about it more when we hit the game, but legacy support Elise player. This is really cool to see, and the funny one is that Mata in solo queue, his Smurf, is named after his good friend Lehen's. It's named after, it's just Lehen's with a Z, and he's been playing support Elise.
And he's also holding down rank 1. Mata pretty good at the moment, but Kingzone haven't changed very much at all, and this is another thing. We were mentioning the nod from Pawn, but it looks like he will be playing the Urgot once again, and we have the top lane Jace from Rascal, definitely a legacy Rascal, Rascal champion, but when he was standing next to Khan a lot of the time, is a little bit dangerous. No, last minute swap actually.
We'll get the confirmation when we roll in here, but here is the side of Griffin. They do end up with the Xin Zhao. The Elise is the surprising one. Pretty squishy champion in the 2v2, and if you don't have your repel up, Gragas all in, just like Vladimir was taken down as a possibility. Let's get the confirmation of the rolls on the side of Kingzone DragonX, and yes, it will be, like you mentioned, Rascal on the top side, trying to find some advantages, and Pawn sticking with the Urgot rather than repping the Jace of the past.
Yeah, and a very similar team composition, but maybe lacking that crowd control option of the Lissandra. Coming from the top side of the map, Kingzone get another chance to try and put a dent in the armor that is this Griffin squad. Nobody else so far in 2019 or the end of 2018 has been able to do it. The team that didn't go to Worlds, the team that a lot of people wanted there, and now they're making us want that again.
Fightings are there. The players are ready to go. The bucket list is probably one smaller now for Lehen's, who gets to make, finally, his LCK debut on support Elise. We can see Guardian is the keystone rune that's been picked up. He has made it to solo queue, spamming 2 off-meta champions in his long career in solo queue. Again, in pro terms, only 6 months, but as a solo queue player, he was always right up there. Lehen's made it first time with support Elise and top Singe, which is a very eclectic duo as a support main.
But definitely two champions that play in a very different way. You don't necessarily... You're either a Singed player or a top lane player, I think. So, not
apparently you're a Singed player and a support Elise player.
Yeah, I guess so.
Dyrus should give it a go.
He should. He certainly should. He was a fantastic Singe to watch.
People saying rip solo queue out there, I'm sure now. And obviously we'd be talking about that if Elise wins. But Elise's support can be very powerful. And again, Mata has been spamming it on his off account. Mata currently rank 1. So playing on his Lehen's with a Z account. And playing support Elise with his good friend. It was actually in the OGN Trash Talk video before the final, you remember.
Yeah.
Mata talking about how he was good friends with Lehen's in that video. So we get to see it on the Rift, and that's cool to see.
It is. Nottingham Ezreal as well is going to be locked in here from Viper, and Viper was always, because of course this was the team that loved to play the awesome dudes. He was the Vladimir 100% win rate guy, but always wanted to be playing the carries. And when they were playing and so successful in Challenger, it was jumping behind Viper on hyper carries was how they got their name as being this formidable Challenger team in Korea. Able to hop back onto the Ezreal. Sangyu made it look damn strong today in our first series. Maybe not in the first game, but in the rest.
Oh, here we go. Flash misses.
Yeah, flashes forward and depth. Going to be absolutely fine. The first cocoon not going to find the mark as Lehens was trying to do to them what was done to them.
Exactly. Trying to turn it around and catch us unawares. But now, very squishy champion with no flash. The E has already been revealed, so they know that he can change into Spider Form and repel. A counter engage from Tucson. But definitely pretty hyphy from someone trying to make a name on this support Elise.
Yeah, looking like he's probably more having a little bit of fun rather than anything else.
What does it look like when Griffin's serious? Because it seems like they're having fun most times.
That is very true. Maybe it's all the same.
I think Tarzan only has fun when he wins, so he is
well,
a ladder monster in his own right. Exactly.
Well, this bottom lane from Kingzone certainly was very, very strong in our last series, but you can see the gold already getting out of control here, honestly. 500 gold at 3 minutes in. It's a really silly amount of gold. There's a lead.
When it comes to lane positions, you'll see bot lane pushing in. Sion early actually doesn't have to worry about Jace too much, and Tarzan playing around that lane pressure gets to invade Zac to his heart's content. So counter jungling Zac, one of the most evergreen metagames when it comes to picking strong lanes and denying the team fight, kind of scaling tank jungler from camps where possible. Right now, at least, camp for camp has been taken, but a lot more fallback camps for Xin Zhao, 4 in fact, and none for the Zac.
Yeah, and to use one of the old StarCraft references, the no rush 10 minutes type situation does happen when you pick the Zac, so Tarzan knowing that he can have run of the rift the majority of this early game.
And why I need to see more of 9.1 is the no rush strat kind of applies to both Zac and Sejuani, right? They're very similar that way. That's why I'm wondering when people don't take the Hail of Blades Xin Zhao poison and instead go for the farm it up with Karthus jungle strategy and Dark Harvest. There will be teams that consider more risky scaling options, because one way to punish scaling is with even more scaling on your side.
The counter to scaling is either not scaling or more scaling. Which is just a ridiculous thing to think about.
When does the Nasus jungle come out?
Or, man,
is there any more S-word champion than scaling when it comes to the Nasus?
Yeah, I think Nasus is probably the rudest option.
Cuz found a camp. It's his allies bot lane.
Yeah.
Minions,
yeah.
He needed something.
The classic Meteor strat coming back to us once again.
Well, that was on the Nasus, not the Zac so
much.
But
we were talking about Nasus, so it's relevant.
Guys are wondering how Relic Shield interacts with the Elise. Notice it is Relic Shield and not the AP item, and you can just switch over to the melee form, the spider form, and get those much easier last hits. So
yeah.
Just like Mata, who was streaming it, that is what we're seeing from Lehens.
Going to be able to easily grab those ones away, cuz roaming around
Lehens
here
is actually all alone with no flash.
Yeah, gets that very deep ward in there. Does have the repel available. Will get behind Pawn, but puts himself very close to that knock-up from the Zac. And he's likely just going to get taken down here. Tucson comes in, wants an assist. Deft wishes he had got one, but he actually did as he nailed the W on the way through. And that is going to be, once again, a very easy pick-off to start this game.
And good news, the world is saved. Sport Elise delayed from solo queue. It went down, therefore, no one will try.
Yeah, absolutely. It's just a terrible, terrible pick.
Well, he went in and there was a really smart trinket ward over the ramp there that confirmed, and it was an easy communication of, hey, he's pushing in for deep wards with no flash. Doesn't matter if he's Elise going down.
Yeah.
Good read there, good collapse from Kingzone. Need moments like that, and 2 games in a row they do pick up first blood against Griffin.
Yeah, and Lehens playing so far this game with maybe a little bit too much gusto of Smithy. That earlier flash, certainly not something that you'd want to repeat.
It's a bit of, it feels like little man syndrome of, I'm going to prove it to you that Elise support's good.
Yeah, exactly.
And both times he did not.
But also, like, it is good, so, like, it's fine, man. You've already proven that as by getting to Challenger with just
Challenger
Elise
rank
support.
1, no less.
Yeah, Challenger rank 1 as just Elise support and Singed. That'll do it. As Tarzan is going to meet Cuz.
Remember, Rascal has first rotation here.
Wants to dive on top of him, but Sword trying to put his body in the way. You
still don't win the 2v2.
Well.
That's what you notice here is, yes, you get a nice bit of damage onto Tarzan, but you still heavily lose the 2v2. It's level 5 Zac, so yeah, still have to move away from that. Pawn might be caught here.
Yeah, Chovy diving forward. The flash has to be used here from Pawn, but the E was held onto for so long. There's the audacious charges. Pawn very, very low. Trying to get more done here, but gets their heads bogged together. Doesn't matter as Cuz still has to flash to get his way out, and he will lose his red buff as well.
Lose-lose scenario there for Cuz. It's so awkward because no doubt Pawn will say, come and help. He's level 5 still. If he jumps in, there's no way for him to impact the fight and stop his ally from dying. Now his summoner is down as well. Gotta have to say that this jungle will continue to be invaded by Xin Zhao. The EQ from Jace was good, but then they over-pursue, and Pawn was caught in no man's land between everyone.
Yeah, it feels like Pawn's made to look a little bit silly so far this series in a lot of different ways. Not entirely his fault, but still, he's the one that goes down for first blood. We're going to check it out again.
The moment that he starts hoovering down this minion, he's actually screwed his team up in many ways because there's no way for Zac to respond to this. Doesn't have Let's Bounce. There's nobody to help him out. This time, Jace is under turret, and that means Sion will respond first. So it ends up being Pawn and a flash on the Zac rather than just Pawn going down in that play.
Yeah, exactly. And they lose the red buff as well. All control here of the top side of the map. Even Rascal having to play more defensively. He was already laning quite well here on the Jace, but everything's even now as Sword catches all the way back up. Ninja Tabi in his back pocket as well. True Shot Barrage barely misses Tucson there. You'd think that butt would be big enough, but able to sidle his way past.
Top side, Jace finally getting some items together. Will have to be Black Cleaver and the Blade of the Ruin King, you'd think, to do any sort of pain onto Sword. Sion and his base stats and just all his AoE clearing has always been the most survivable of these Jace versus tank matchups we're treated to again and again from Longshu Gaming and Kingzone, with Jace being such a frequent pick for Khan. Sion loses the best of any of these tanks. He's much more graceful. He actually gets a CS lead for the first 15 minutes or so, and while Jace might run away with the lane, where will the rest of the game be by the time Jace gets his core down?
Well, it's a scary proposition here because we saw what happened in game number 1. Griffin already somehow with about a 2,000 gold lead, largely to do with that top lane control, top jungle control of Kingzone. Tarzan making his way down towards this bottom side of the map. Kingzone knows exactly what's going on, but there's just not a lot they can do about it here as Chovy considering going aggressive onto Pawn, but Cuz was waiting in the wings.
You get a replay of this bot lane play that we missed. Watching the play through here. Didn't have to catch someone. This was the summoner blown onto Lehens to start the play. So a good moment during a otherwise kind of meager early game there for the Kingzone bottom lane.
Yeah, they're going to keep that flash on cooldown as much as they possibly can by the looks of things. Lehens not going to be able to go too aggressive. Still sitting on 0-1-0.
Sword, when he's played this top lane, Sion has been far away from Chovy. Remember, Chovy was the first to go Jerome's Fist, Steric's Gauge into Titanic Hydra on the Sion. We saw the start of that from Fly, but he gave up. No more AD after that. Not quite as man mode as good old Chovy. When Sword plays it, he goes Righteous Glory, even in AP matchups, and then starts initiating. He's been really ahead of the play on Sion many, many times, so tells you very much that they want 2 items on Ezreal, a Gunblade on Akali, and then start team fighting is the Griffin way in this particular comp.
And you were talking about the fact that, you know, Elise support, does it work, does it not? She's got an attack speed steroid. They've already taken so many of these turret platings. It's down to 1. It may actually just die here.
Yeah.
As Tucson can't do anything about this.
And this was also invested in by Viper. He actually started with a Sheen rather than Tyr. We often only see that in really tricky lanes. Kai'Sa Gragas doesn't qualify as a super tricky lane. You could have gone Tyr here. He doesn't, as Viper does get caught. Not enough to take him down.
And dodges everything as well at the end there. Nice knock-up from the Decimating Smash. But
that
is going to be, once again, the Rift Herald going down in favor of Tarzan.
Ezreal was trading up with the early Sheen. Mid lane's going just fine. Chovy farming it out. Pawn trying to chase.
Yeah, Tarzan able to audaciously charge over the wall on top of him there as well. Has to go into his stopwatch, but is this a see your death moment? That's the question. The answer is a definitive yes, as that teleport has to be followed, but that's one too many turret shots. The flash from Rascal, not able to take down Tarzan, just nonchalantly saunters out.
Exactly, the communication on point there. Tarzan knew there was a chance he lived. It looked like wasting a stopwatch. They're always Rolexes when they're being worn by Tarzan. He goes topside, and Infernal Drake might be the price, but it's all in vision. Speaking of in vision, Tarzan knows he can super aggressively channel down this Rift Herald. The reason why they're happy to make this trade, they know that the Jace not getting free time.
Close.
No steal happens here, but as this is all happening, they're ensuring that laning phases are ending, and if Jace has no side lane to re-enter, they're just team fighting with a Jace, and that's happy news to the side of Griffin.
Yep, there is another turret plating up towards the top side of the map that is going begging at the moment, as we're going to check this one out once more. Really smooth stuff from Tarzan on that stopwatch timing.
Watching the replay on this one, just no way for Pawn to fully disengage it. Doesn't have his flash open, we saw that used earlier. Taken down at the start of this play, and then it looks like at this point, if you freeze frame and say, what about a stasis? It looks like a waste. But they're able to body block here, the EQ not available, so no kill goes down. The Xin Zhao continues, the rich get richer. Seems to be a common Griffin story, is, well, the visual bugs are still fun.
That was a really weird teleporty visual bug there. I guess that's where he would have been had he kept walking instead of decimating smashing.
It seems to be about buffering movement abilities and also when an input is put in. I like how we're just peanut gallerying some spaghetti code in the games, but I mean, it looks really wonky.
It does. Sort of like, you know, where you click really far away but you don't actually go that far. It's like accidentally it looks like you've gone all that way. As there's the flash once again from Lahens, and once again, it is going to miss.
I think his zoning Elise play has been very good.
Yeah, the zoning flash.
Double zoning flash.
Oh. Leading them into a false sense of security, Papa Smithy, or saving solo queue from the support Elise, one of the two.
See, the
good guy Lahens.
See, the likelihood of exiting this game with a W column Elise support, pretty high. The likelihood of convincing CV Max that it was good, pretty low.
That's exactly right. And there's the turret plating going down, pretty easy one there for Sword. As that's only got one left. Not a lot of time, 30 seconds before all of those are going to be taken down. Credit to Pawn for not losing any so far, but the rest of his lanes cannot say much about it. That is 4 turret plates to be taken.
Pawn has also built basically full tank in this lane. No phage, for example, at 15 minutes is a very, very late phage. Now, it may end up being Spectre's Cowl Black Cleaver and just getting the phage as the 3rd item, but he's built for, please God, I can't lose this lane, rather than any sort of punishment. Not a lot of oomph in that previous trade, you'll remember, when there could have been potentially a faster kill onto Tarzan. So yes, not behind by a mountain of CS, but behind 20 building for lane is not ideal either.
Exactly, and Viper is well and truly towards his 2 items that he's picked up. 150 CS, in fact 24 ahead of Deft, who's not even in this lane, so we'll miss out on most of these minions as well too, so might be able to hold on to these 3 back ones, but otherwise it's bad news for the Kai'Sa. And that is that 2-item spike that we were talking about. Viper already there. The tier, of course, still needs to stack in that Manamune, but Muramana will be not far away.
Start counting the minions to the advantage of Griffin, and across the board, it's about 50 between all the lanes, maybe even slightly more because the jungle's ahead. Looking at the gold leads,
maybe
not the
ahead
biggest.
Is an understatement.
It's just consistent, right? Even in the top lane, it's a 200 gold lead, and then some other sizable advantages being won by Griffin. You know, the early game's gone completely to plan, and because of all those turret plates and the CS lead, 2 items on Viper very comfortably pre-15 minutes.
Yep. Lahens struggling just a little bit here, watching him miss that cannon creep. His Sword, wow, that burst damage onto Rascal is a huge deal here. Decimating Smash not going to fully charge.
I don't know about the straight of Dirk. It's going to be real. I think Bilgewater is what you need, because Sion always does chip damage. He's always doing 400 damage.
Yeah.
And with no lifesteal outside, well, just no lifesteal outside, I guess the Corrupting Potion just being a bit of extra heal, so no true lifesteal. I actually think Rascal could be at risk of being solo killed, and he's gone Klepto, so it's a pretty bank-heavy build on the side of the Jace.
Yeah, I think so too. I feel like Smeb was really our biggest Blade of the Ruined King Jace player as Deft gets engaged on here by Tarzan. That amount of damage is just despicable.
Oh, Kuz
dives forward. Yeah, he was looking for it. But unfortunately, without your 80 carry, he's just going to go down as Tarzan continuing the pressure. Turret falls. This guy, it feels like you give him any champion, he makes it look completely broken.
He's still pushing forward as Tarzan. Tucson gets the hell out of there. They're going to take the bot lane quadrant. They're getting the top lane quadrant. How about some mid lane too? For the side of Griffin, they push up, and the gold lead, it's already 5,000 Atlas, and there's only 4 kills in the game. Yep,
and a Shroud down in the mid lane means that Cuz's kidnap looks a little bit weird. That Let's Bounce not going to get any work done whatsoever. It's Chovy, his second charge of his dash, just to get himself out of the way. So, of course, needed to use the ultimate in trade for Cuz's ultimate. Lahens did hit a cocoon on stream. Confirmed. Hey, you got to take your victories where you can get them if you support Elise.
That is true. You really shouldn't be losing your turret here as Jace versus Sion, but whoopsie. Perhaps on the build? Maybe. Maybe. That's just my opinion. I'm not a Jace main, but I've seen the matchup enough to know you probably shouldn't be losing your turret solo. Yeah. That being said, things going wrong elsewhere on the map as well as Cuz once again
looking for an engagement, but choosing your target as an Ezreal probably not a great idea, as there's the flash from Tarzan trying to turn it around. Gets knocked back. It's Rascal that's able to help out there, as Cuz should go down to the passive. The Q from Viper is enough for that. As Def looking for a way into this fight. The Q able to do some damage, but it's Sword tanking the majority of it. Good knock up off to the side. Chovy 1v1 against Pawn, but low health bars here for Griffin. They're still pushing forward. Deft has the ultimate, and now the re-engage from Kingzone. Lahens so incredibly low. The flash from Deft, as now we've got Sword channeling the Q, but that means the Deft free hitting onto him. It's going to be the Mystic shots there, and Viper way too low to get himself back forward. Zombie Scion is just a beast trying to take down Deft, as the teleport's here to turn it around once again.
Kali had no ultimate to impact this fight, so that Kali was largely a passenger. Def does live, but Griffin don't lose a fight that halfway through, if you paused it, looked like Kingzone's way back into the game.
Yeah, this fight continuing a little bit here, but just a test of some buttons here between Pawn and Chovy, so we should be able to see the replay.
Ultimate goes wide from Viper, and we will load up that replay very shortly. Here it is. This looked like, for once, Griffin maybe being punished for too much exuberance. Tarzan was way down the lane, his best score impression, going for a lane gank here. Let's watch how this all came together. Watch the EQ here, actually chunking Tucson out super early. They get the kill onto Def. This is much further back into the game. We had a lot of extended chasing from all of here. We zoom forward a little bit. It started with the Mountain Drake being claimed. That was all in the past as well. This feels a bit like a Sherlock Holmes mystery that we're slowly uncoupling through all of this.
This is how it happened.
Tarzan's level 11. Kind of insane from this. And with the deep teleport, you're baited after how the series has gone to thinking it's just going to be all Griffin. But Chovy can never hit the fight. Pawn does very well to keep him out, and there's no ultimate available on the Akali. Halfway through the fight, not yet. It looks like this is going to be a huge win for Kingzone. We see Def free hitting at the tail end of all of this, and yet Def can turn around after this, made the play really good, but could never actually cement it because Viper was still putting out damage, and Griffin as a squad, and this 5 becomes 1 strategy. The Griffin have talked about the wordless communication hits the next level.
Yeah.
They actually come out pretty damn even, and somehow Viper does more damage than Deft in that encounter.
Yeah, way more damage. And Tucson does a ridiculous amount as well. Somehow able to pull out 2.4k in comparison to Lahens' 200. So yet another advocation for not playing the old support Elise. As Pawn's going to find Chovy once again. These two insisting on 1v1ing over and over again. Stain comes in, and Chovy can go back if he wants to, but I wouldn't.
Oh, it was too late there from Pawn. I know there's no great time to use it. Oh,
wow.
Now, if the Void Seeker had hit, it would have been just perfect from Pawn for the extra burst, but not going to happen there. The Pawn down to cooldown, but he already has CDR on the build, so I'm sure Fear Beyond Death will be available soon. Viper's
exactly
in the mid lane on Ezreal, that's what you prefer. This was actually in one of the replays, I would assume, because we missed this play on screen. Did we squish the spider again? We did.
Yeah. Cuz able to pick that one up. Thankfully, we've got the replay so we can see everything, because there's so much action around this map. Obviously, I mean, something had to happen because that last replay that we had before, the one we just saw, was so incredibly long with so many important things happening. Probably needing to break that one down after the game to really understand everything that happened, because it was a 7,000 gold lead after that with what felt like a very even exchange. Griffin was still able to get so much more than Kingzone.
Now, there is an Infernal being worn by them, and Chovy could be taken down here. No ult, remember, on Pawn.
Yep. That being said, he will need to be very careful. Disdain not able to actually arm, and the corrosive charge also not going to find it because gets the flash out. Chovy will get his head bonked into the turret as Deft lands it this time, wants to find the Q.
Zion!
Doesn't get it! Sidestep from Deft keeps him out of the way, but now Pawn once again in a horrible spot, and Chovy gets into the shroud and baits beautifully. Both of them go down. The best friends dead at exactly the same time. And Griffin just chuckle and get themselves towards that 10,000 gold lead.
And the healing that came through from the support Elise actually ends up keeping him guaranteed out of the threshold of the just available Fear Beyond Death. Awesome stuff from Griffin across 2 different encounters. And now they want to kill Rascal, who doesn't have a lot of good places to go, and is actually awkwardly spotted by the Vision Plan.
Yep. Chovy going to jump over that wall, and Rascal tanking the turret because he has to. He's in a whole host of trouble. Acceleration Gate might get him a little bit further towards safety, but Lahens needs to land a cocoon, picks the juke. And that should be Chovy grabbing the kill. He will do it. Lahens still takes a lot of damage, of course.
Only as good as your last cocoon, so Lahens looking pretty good.
He's great.
Let's watch the replay here. This is such an extended play where Chovy he's been playing with his food again and again. He knows Pawn doesn't have ult, but he takes so much free damage at the start. Remember, fleet footwork and also the Gunblade for Spell Vamp and Lifesteal. Right at the tail end here, only right at the end do we see it come in. He has the W, he held this for a long time, not shown in the Spectre overlay. This time, Pawn does hit the ultimate. The Fear Beyond Death does arm, but it never goes through. There's not quite enough damage and the ability to turn thanks to Support Elise Redemption heal, of all things.
Yeah, just insane. That on top of the fact that Akali, once she has the Gunblade, just has so much healing from using her abilities, just baited Pawn so incredibly hard. And we know that this guy is an emotional player. So much confidence, but also so much of an ability to lose his head in the middle of games like this. Another example of that, but also an example of Griffin just playing some pretty exemplary League of Legends, as we're growing to expect from them game in, game out.
Double tier already complete, as that visual bug was amusing. Scion style on the Ezreal. At least we're getting reproducible bugs now.
Yeah.
We can let Reader Games know as soon as possible.
Makes it completely fine, as I don't know what that was from Chovy, but I believe that was another visual bug paired with the use of the E.
So Griffin can't know they're 10,000 gold ahead, but they know they're pretty far ahead in this game. The only thing they need to avoid is Cuz's picture-perfect engage dominating a team fight. So really their biggest objective now is control it on the Baron. That part's easy. Their blue sides are very easy to put down Baron vision. And from there, ward those camps. If you can get wards on the camps, make that Zac accountable in any way, I think they're super, super comfortable with the position they're in. However, that information is available to the side of King Zone, so a control ward, even just on the rafters, might be enough to give them quite a lot of ability to put doubt into Griffin's mind before they start a Baron.
Well, Sword does have teleport available right now, actually. Rascal picks up that red buff. No steal to go over to Griffin here, but Pawn underneath this mid lane turret. I have a feeling he's dead. Another Cocoon's going to land. A very easy pick off under the turret in the mid lane. Feels like all the time Griffin find anyone who is even slightly out of position.
Where is the safe position against Griffin, Atlas? I think it's perhaps here from the casting desk, where you don't have to hedge your bets at all.
What, right at the back of the fountain? Is that not okay?
You know, I don't know if you're safe there, Atlas.
That's real scary stuff. As I'm beginning to believe you, as Tucson just going to get solid out on the back end. Tarzan picks that one up very, very easily once again. Positional mistake, and Griffin are going to punish. It is 12,000 gold, the lead. I don't know how this gold has erupted into the pockets of Griffin. It's like they're being snuck lunch money by CV Max on the stage right now in front of everyone.
Very deep teleport being attempted here to try to squish a bug one more time.
Yeah, he's going to be able to transfer to the Baron really nicely. Has the Cocoon as deft. He's going to be able to avoid it. Lahan's willed. Oh my god! The redemption keeps him alive for that little while longer. But Deft has the auto attack and finishes it off.
Man, the redemption arming the orbital heal rather than the orbital nuke was so interesting to watch there, but still going to be finished off by Deft, and no summoner needed to be invested. Rascal has to back away. They keep killing Lahan's. Awkwardly, only Scion has died elsewhere. And that's kind of the thing with Griffin is we see on-screen the parts we should be scared of, but we also know so often off-screen they're trading up.
Yeah.
Snap over to top lane. Oh, that's another turret going solo to Chovy on the Akali.
I feel like we're watching a feel-good movie, though, Papa Smithy. It's one of the, like, if you're a Griffin fan, because you've got all of the right pieces. You know, you've got the cool guy, you've got all of that stuff, and then you've got the comic relief, which is Lahan's. Especially this game, dying 4 times, but often in comedic fashion, and also never to the detriment of his team all that much.
I just love his flash cocoons. So far, they've been on point for me.
Yep, you pair those 2 buttons together, you've got a 0% hit rate, boys.
But Sword pushes up in the bot lane, 11,500 gold lead. Thank you very much in this game, and I think Rascal can be the same KZ Jace that we're used to. Previously, that would of course been Khan over on SK Telecom T1. No lifesteal in the build still, so it actually makes it pretty tricky to safely wail away with his Kleptomancy on the Scion.
And also, I believe Sword's probably 1 item away from finishing off that Bramble Vest into the Thornmail for his next one, which will mean that even if Rascal does eventually build his lifesteal, it's going to be even less effective, and also, if he doesn't build it, he's going to have an even worse time against the Scion. Not a lot of good options here. For almost anyone, I believe, you know, Deft is feeling like he's in Elo hell at the moment. Another one of those stories where he's capable of a lot of damage, he's capable of a lot of things. But what can you do against this Griffin when Tarzan looks at him and the Kaiser's dead?
I love your earlier point about the comic relief being provided by Lehens, because, you know, you watch Griffin game 1, you're like, this is a scary team. Don't want to mess with them.
They're like
but
the
then in
Ninja
this
Turtles,
game,
dude.
But in this game, aren't they a eclectic bunch? You got like the badass thinking into the future Tarzan. You have Lehens, the comic relief.
Yeah,
Chovi's making the flashy moves. He's the guy who's always on the dance floor.
We need someone to make their intro video. We need someone to make their intro
Sword
video
is
of
the
the Griffin
everyman
sitcom.
who can do whatever he needs to do.
But he's often the butt of the jokes.
And Viper's the one who just thinks about things differently. Like, he's got a different sense of fashion. You know, he thinks, yeah, whatever.
Hipster.
You can wear whatever you want.
The hipster cool
Awesome
guy.
dudes. I invented that term. So it's nice that we're getting some character moments from Griffin in game number 2.
Absolutely. I still need that intro video to be made. I need
The Griffin anime was already made. It was called LCK Spring 2018. It's when a team with no LCK players with any experience almost won the whole damn thing out. So we already saw the anime. Season 2, apparently the feedback was a bit more comedy.
Well, Lehens is the one that's jumped on that train and is now going to get caught once again, but Cuz puts his face into that cocoon, and that is not what you want. The rest of his friends do turn up. Kingzone have to back away. Chovy once again in his shroud. One is started. Deft just explodes! Chovy found him, and Chovy dealt with him as well. Lehens gets in here, but he's not the one to talk about because all the damage is elsewhere. Cuz probably didn't want to actually kidnap anyone into the backline. His sword just delivered free entry. The Urgot dies as an afterthought, and Rascal says, I don't want to go anywhere near you guys. I'm happy to sacrifice the base. I might take a turret on the map. The Griffins say they don't even want to sacrifice that.
Vindicating all the expectation, Atlas. This is the Griffin we were led to believe was going to rock the Rift, and this is the Griffin we have been granted. While the lighter moments are ones we might laugh about, the damage there to Kingzone was insane. Deft was playing League of Legends, then disconnected half a second later. Found his death was an afterthought. They take down the Baron. 5,000 damage at Kali. Thank you very much. Hey, another champion you might consider banning against Griffin.
Yeah. My goodness. That was one hell of an amount of
Are
burst.
we sure we can show this replay? I believe our stream is not rated.
It might be illegal.
Well, there was Deft, and there he wasn't. And then from there, it's just who's going to get kill credit. Another cocoon hits. Lehens once again feel like, yeah, second game possible on this support Elise. Scion Speedway straight drifting into the Urgot crab for dinner tonight for Griffin.
And you can see the mindset as well of Kingzone right now as a party cast coming in from Tucson, right on top of himself, trying to disengage what could have been the ghosts of all of these Griffin players. It just must be so scary being this team, because what do you do against this squad? 15,000 gold the lead. It's 30 minutes into the game. I mean, they've lasted longer, I guess, is what you could write down in the VOD review as the pros column, but otherwise, there really isn't much of a pros column here for Kingzone. Team, we were wondering whether they were even going to be able to mesh together. What was this team going to be? Well, against Griffin, they've been found wanting, but I think that most teams will be in that same category, as we've got another engage coming in from Tarzan. Gets the knockback as the kidnap's used just to get Cuz out of dodge. The damage still going to be there, and the inhibitor going to go down. Tarzan sacrifices half of his health bar for that cocoon. Landing onto Pawn, and he gets destroyed by Lehens. Has that Q damage just to get rid of the Urgot. And Chovy, what is that? Dives onto Deft, somehow got tagged, and that's the True Shot Barrage, finishing it off. I don't know how that happened, but damn, Deft was, now you're here, now you're not, and the Nexus is going to go down because now no one has any damage to speak of. Griffin showing up here on the LCK stage for 2019. They were beasts in the Casper Cup, and they're continuing it on the LCK stage.
Welcome back to the LCK. Griffin, you have not missed a trick. 10 matches now is the streak since the start of Casper Cup on the 2019 patch. And how long can that streak extend, both in the LCK and also over the course of 2019? Griffin don't need to step up and celebrate. No fist pumps needed. They know they've just done the minimum, and the minimum for Griffin is a 2-0.
And that tag and burst at the end from Chovy really solidifying what this match
Viper
was.
loved it so much after getting the kill, he just ran into the fountain and died. He was like, I need to die next to my good friend Deft.
Yeah, and also needs to try and even out his scoreline with his support play, you know, giving him some support, some moral support he gets from Lehens so often. You can see feeling probably a bit downtrodden are these guys. Pawn taking a while to get his mind into gear after what was a shellacking versus this team. I know we often reserve that for games that don't go very long, but regardless, it's what it felt like here. Just very lopsided, and this Griffin squad are juggernauts already after one game.
They got to co-opt OGN's name for LCK Summer. The fantastic run was Griffin's run, and while it didn't have the picture-perfect happy ending, they still have nothing in the trophy case outside of Kesper Cup. Now we're seeing the evolution. Now we're seeing the seasoning, that another off-season where they did not give up any roster changes. They didn't need to. They felt like they had the right mix. Very hard to argue on the second day of LCK Spring that they are not runaway favorites for LCK Spring 2019. The names are still on the side of Kingzone, but Pawn wraps up his stuff here, his uniform, still reads Kingzone DragonX. He still has everything around, but unfortunately he doesn't have the stature that he wore years ago as a world champion in 2014. Deft may still be a very talented AD carry, but does it matter when right now it seems like around him they don't have a roster that can compete with the best?
Exactly. Deft, of course, MSI champion, LCK champion, LPL champion. He's got so many trophies in that trophy case. Never has it been the world's victory, but this Kingzone team definitely looking wanting, and if there's any comparison to make, it has to be to Griffin at this stage. They are showing us time and time again this year that they cannot be beaten, and that is 10-0 since the start of Kesper Cup for this team, and it just doesn't look like there's any way to challenge it. It's just organically they're getting more money than their opponents. They're having a great time while they're doing it. At the same time, we're talking about Lehens making the party plays, the rest of his team just decimating everyone on the Rift, and you have to say it comes back to Tarzan almost every time.
I believe Jinair faces Griffin later in this week, could be mistaken on that, but if you're just the drafting coach of Griffin's next team, you look at your notes and you now have to add Akali to the list. Now you're penciling Xinjiao as a must ban. You didn't have enough bans before, and now you have 2 more you have to consider. So, yeah, things are tricky, Atlas. Just like we didn't feel like after game 1 we had a solution for Hanwha Life, and then Hanwha Life flipped the world on his shoulders, and suddenly things were very different. We now don't have any solutions against Griffin, and someone inspired like Hanwha Life was in game 2 and 3 of the first series needs to show us the way to beat Griffin, because Kingzone, sadly, were definitely behind the pace.
Yeah, they do not have the answer, but maybe somebody else does. Kingzone, we know, have troubles of their own. Pawn was trying to do what he could in the mid lane, was the only one to save his turrets, I guess is something that you can say, but he goes down. Tarzan tanks the turret for about forever and still manages to survive. The calculation in this play was frustrating, to say the least, if you're a Kingzone fan.
But why do they get to beat you in the micro and the macro is what you feel like when you're watching this team.
Yeah, you're just robbed.
Yeah. This is Deft enjoying some Halo Blade Xinjiao. That's pretty bonkers damage, as Malrang showed yesterday and echoed in this particular game.
Yeah.
And from there, we saw the lighter moments, which were Lehens dying and missing the flashes many times, but he got one in the win column, Atlas. He got one in the win column.
He did. Manages to pick up that cocoon in our previous play, and this from Chovy. If this was calculated, I don't even know how to prove it. The
Scooby-Doo moment for Pawn, if it wasn't for that damn Elise healing.
Exactly. Rotro is certainly something to be said for this series. Dives back, has the option to go back towards. The Urgot takes it, because you can't actually see the Shroud, but it did play a huge part in juking around the Kingzone members and making them look a bit silly. As this was a Griffin roster playing with their food. Chovy making the Akali look a little bit pre-nerf here as well. She wasn't necessarily nerfed enough in a lot of people's opinions, but still looks completely broken.
As do Kingzone DragonX in the post-game here. 9 turrets to 0. They got a couple of Drakes, they got 6 kills. It ended up being more competitive than the first game, but again, 5,000 gold leads just seem to appear when Griffin decide they want them. It's suddenly, without there being insane Fiesta, we're like, oh, that's already 5,000. That's quite a bit.
And also, like, we have to look back to game number 1 for this, but that tower dive that Kingzone managed to put together was actually looking quite nice. Of course, that was the moment where Tarzan decided
in the big screen.
Eradicate
the mini-map,
the
not
top
so
side
good,
of the map.
But in the macro screen looked pretty good.
Yeah, and also in the micro of sort of how it worked out, how they juggled the turret, you can see that this team has been putting in a lot of time to try and get the synergy up to par, but unfortunately against Griffin, it straight up wasn't, and it was leagues away from what it needed to be to challenge this team that has solidified their throne here in the LCK, at least for now, at least until they come up against some of our other names. Afrika Freaks comes to mind as someone who hasn't necessarily been tested, much like Kingzone was. They were found wanting. Afrika might have a different opportunity. And SKT is the other team that you have to talk about. And back-to-back is going to be the MVP points. That is 14-0-12 across 2 games for Tarzan on the Zinzel.
You know he's pretty good at League of Legends, this Tarzan guy.
Yeah.
Oh. He is the icing on the cake. This is the Brains Trust, the player that didn't get the recognition at the start of Griffin's run because he wasn't doing the flashy stuff. He was playing Trundle jungle and just being a god of pathing, but he got the shout-outs from his teammates of really, look at Tarzan. That was shot called by Tarzan. Tarzan had his idea about this matchup. Now he's starting to do the things on screen as the meta starts to roll forward, and the things on screen match the things off screen, and that's pretty scary for any player. Again, his reputation is leveling up day on day, and it's already pretty high. Tarzan deserves the double MVP. Hopefully we still get a word from someone else, as Tarzan shouldn't monopolize all the time. It was still a team performance from the side of Griffin, but a one-man team, but Tarzan looking like if he needs to be, he'll find the time.
Yeah, and of course, everyone can carry on this team. We've seen so many different players pick up the mantle over the season and the Kesper Cup that we've seen Griffin in. So many things to talk about, but we are going to go to that MVP interview. We'll see whether we get anyone else other than Tarzan, but Ji-sun will take you through the translation.
Thank you very much, guys. This is Ji-sun with
오늘
today's
정말
final interview,
압도적인
and
경기력
we're going to hear from
보여주셨습니다.
Tarzan.
어나더 레벨 그리핀의 1강으로 불릴 만한 경기력을 보였는데요.
Griffin, you guys are on another level. How do you
일단
feel
새로운
right now?
경기장에서 일단 기분 좋게 스타트한 것
I think it's
같아서
a great start
굉장히
for us,
만족스러운
especially
것
in the
같아요.
new arena. So I'm
네,
really
이렇게
satisfied right now.
무서운 짜오는 역대 처음이다 이런 말이 나올
We're
정도로
saying that this
오늘
is the
경기력이
scariest
상당했습니다.
진짜오 ever.
숙련도가 엄청나 보였는데
Especially we can
연습을
see that you
얼마나
have
하신
so much
건가요?
experience on
딱히
Xinjiao. So
막
how
신짜오만 많이 한 게
did you
아니라서
play Xinjiao a lot?
그냥 적당히 한
No,
것
not
같아요.
really.
네, 그리고 라스칼 선수를 솔로킬하는 장면이
Your solo
나왔습니다.
killed
그때 어떤
Rascal. What was
상황이었어요?
going on over
그때
there?
전용 시야 체크를 했는데 없는
So
것
we were
같아서
trying to get vision near
마침
the Herald.
리산드라가 탑에 안 보여서
And we
이거는
saw
와드박으로
Lissandra missing on top
오겠다고
lane, so I
그냥
thought that
봤는데
she will be here
운 좋게
to land
렌즈에
the ward.
보여가지고
I was lucky to find her, and I was able to take her
예측을
down.
한 대로 나온 거죠.
I guess it was
정말
going
방금
just
대단하다.
exactly as your plan.
성캐 목소리가 들어갔는데 네 정말 대단합니다.
Yes, your song. Amazed
자,
by your play
골드
today.
수급량도 엄청났습니다.
And
팀원들이
you were
아래쪽에서
bouncing a
싸우고
lot
있을
of
때
gold today.
나는 꿋꿋하게 탑을
Always
밀겠다.
in the side
이런
lane and
콜이
gaining a lot of
오갔던
gold.
거죠?
So
아니 그냥 이제
How
저
were you
혼자
able to pull that
탑이니까
up?
그냥 바텀 죽지만 말라고
So I
나
was the
돈
only
번다고
player
계속
at
했던
top
것
lane,
같아요.
so I told the other
야,
teammates
죽지만
just
말아다오
not,
나는 돈을 조금
just don't
벌겠어.
die. I'm gonna earn
네,
money
그런
for you guys.
상황에서 정말 골드 수급량을 1위를 달리셨던 상황이 있었습니다. 자 그리고요 두 번째 경기로 이제
moving
얘기를
on to
넘어가
game
봐야
two.
할 텐데 아칼리 얘기를 해봐야 할 것
We have
같아요.
to talk
오늘
about
초비 선수도
Akali.
굉장히 잘해줬기 때문에
Chobi.
아칼리를 모두 선픽을 하셨는데
You both
우르고
first picked
상대로
Akali for game
아칼리가
1 and
조금
2.
부족하지 않나 이런 얘기도 있기는
Some of the
해요.
people were
어떻게
concerned
생각하시나요?
that Akali
제가
can't be
아칼리를 하진
countered by
않지만
Urgot.
초비가
Well, I'm not
굉장히
an Akali
자신은
player, but
띄워가지고
Chobi
했던 것
has
같아요.
huge confidence
초비
on it.
선수가 나 아칼리 그냥 할게 하신
네.
거예요.
Was this Chobi's call?
네.
네, 그냥 재밌어도 해가지고 플레이할 때
Yeah, and he also enjoys
그렇고
playing
또
it.
재미 얘기를 한다면 오늘 리엔지 선수의 두 번째 경기 픽에
네.
대해서 팬들이
We
많이
wanna ask you about
궁금해하세요.
Lian support
앨리스를 어떤 경위로 가져가게 된 건지.
Why did you guys go with Alice on
그냥
support?
하고 싶은 거 했던 것 같아요.
I think we were just
여러
playing what
가지
we wanted to
있긴
play.
한데 그 중에
네.
There were a lot of
앨리스 서포트해도
options, and
괜찮겠다
Alice was
해가지고
one of them.
픽했던 것 같아요.
아, 나 앨리스 할게 했는데 아무도 뭐라고 하지 않는 상황이었나요?
Did anyone
네,
complain?
저희는 딱히 그
Not
자기
really.
의견을 좀 중요시
We
하는
respect each
편이라서.
other a
네,
lot.
맞습니다. 뭐 물론 리엔지 선수가 앨리스를 굉장히 많이 플레이했던 건 저희들도 알고 있지만
We know that
좀
Lian is a
의외이긴
good
해서
Alice player, but it
여쭤봤습니다.
was really
자
unexpectable.
그리고 감독님 얘기 한 번만 해볼게요.
So,
캐스파
we wanna
컵에 너무
mention
잘해서
CB Max
피드백이
right here.
없었다 이런 얘기를
You guys
제가
said there
봤는데
was no
오늘은
feedback
어떨
at
것
all
같나요?
after the Caspa Cup.
오늘은 이제
What about today?
앨리스 빼고는 딱히
Well, today, except
근데
Alice,
앨리스마저도
I think
근데
we were
딱히
clean.
피드백은 없을 것 같아요.
I guess there won't be any
앨리스,
special
너는 할 말이
feedback
없다.
after today's game also.
네, 장난입니다. 감독님께서 정말 멋진 운영을 하고 계신 것 같습니다.
GRF is
자,
also
그리고
a
정글의
great
양 타잔 선수를
coach.
응원하는 분들 정말 많습니다. 그
There are a lot
중에서도
of fans
격하게
supporting Tarzan.
타잔 선수를
especially
아끼는 우리 강키
there's a
해설님께
Korean
한마디
commentator,
부탁드려요.
Kangki, so-called
일단
Tarzan's mom. Is there any message
직접
for him?
만나서 대화는 많이 못했는데 좋게
I wasn't
봐주셔서
really able
저도 좋은
to
것 같아요.
talk to him in
아직 한
person,
번도 뵌 적이
but I'm really
없나요?
thankful.
인사 정도는 한 것 같아요.
강키
I just get to
해설님이
say
또
hi.
실제로 만나면 부끄러움을 타셔서 말을 못
Maybe the
거셨을 것
commentator is a
같아요.
little bit shy.
먼저 밥은 드셨냐고 네, 한번
Maybe you can go say hi
여쭤보시면
to
좋을 것
him and have
같습니다.
a small
자,
talk
이번
together.
스프링 팬분들도 정말 많이 와주셨고요.
And I can see a
본인도
lot
남다를
of
것
fans
같아요.
out here
각오가
supporting
각오 한
Griffin
말씀
at
부탁드립니다.
LCK Arena.
이제
Is there any
바빠지는
message for them?
일정인데 저희도 쉬지
The
않고
season just
열심히
started.
준비해서 매 경기
I'm gonna make sure
이길 수
to
있도록
do my best for every
준비
series coming up in the
잘하도록
season.
네, 여러분 마지막으로 큰 박수
So
부탁드리고요.
this will be the end of the
네,
interview.
오늘의 경기는
with
이렇게
Tarzan from Griffin,
그리핀이
and I'm gonna pass
승리를
it back to our
차지했습니다.
casters. Thank you.
중계석 연결할게요.
Thank you very much, Ji-sun, and thank you as well to Tarzan and Mina as well for the interview. Griffin are definitely on a different level to everyone that we've seen so far in 2019, but it is still so early. So what I want
And
to do...
everyone's shouting at Atlas.
Yeah.
Koreancast shouting it. We were shouting it.
Yeah.
Another level is the title that's been given to them, and one they richly deserve. But like you say, it's pretty early in that
It's
calendar.
real early, and look, we've been known to title people as the gods for the year early before. I am personally guilty of that after seeing the first SKT new iteration performance, and I've already sort of bitten the dust for that one already. But Griffin, they're only going up so far, and when do you start believing? Is a question we've asked this team before.
I've got an answer for you, Atlas. 31st of January. You know why?
Why?
The Dream Team plays Griffin. The match that we were denied in the Kesper Cup. It looked like we were set up for SKT versus Griffin until Damwon took down SKT. We will, in fact, see SKT play Griffin in a best-of-3 on the final day of January.
But there is still much more LCK for the rest of this week. Still 3 days remain. And tomorrow, Gen.G versus Sandbox Gaming and Afrika Freaks make their debut against SKT. We'll see whether Sandbox can come out of the gate swinging. But Afrika Freaks versus SKT is going to be a real interesting one.
Oh, that's a really fun one as well. Afrika SKT in 2017 was Marin versus Faker. In 2018, Afrika were challenging and SKT were not.
Yeah.
Now we get to see Afrika, the last of the 10 LCK teams to debut in LCK Spring. We haven't seen them in so long because they just got 2-0'd so quickly by Griffin, and now we know not to count that against them. Just how good are Afrika Freaks, and are they potentially going to force a 3-game series out of SKT?
That's exactly right. Also, Zephyr versus his old team is so incredibly fun. Man, there are so many spicy matchups for all of these guys. Khan versus Keen as well, something we've been talking about for so long. Don't want to go into it too much because you guys have certainly got a lot to talk about tomorrow. I, of course, not going to be here, but Papa will remain on the broadcast alongside Brendan Valdez. But guys, for us, that will do it for tonight. More LCK tomorrow, but for now, good night.